All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to unpack a pretty unique and honestly challenging theological framework. It comes from a group called the Shofatim Society, and their whole idea, laid out in this really detailed forum post, tries to reinterpret, well, everything, from ancient history all the way to modern politics and what the future holds. It's a huge, big picture view of the world, so let's get right into it.
So, the big idea we're digging into today is this. What if all the conflicts we see out in the world, and maybe even the ones inside ourselves, what if they all come from a single hidden origin story? The source material asks you to imagine that there's a whole other history playing out right underneath the surface of the one you think you know.
And right out of the gate, the author sets a really powerful tone. See, instead of starting with some external proof, they go for something they believe you already know deep down. You know, that feeling in your gut that says there has to be a single, undivided divine power behind everything. Okay, so where do our modern struggles actually come from, according to this text? Well, it argues they're not new at all, not even close. It says they're just the latest battle in an ancient, invisible war that's been going on for ages. So the story, as this text tells it, kicks off way back before the flood. You have these ancient beings who descend and teach humanity forbidden knowledge. Their interactions with humanity lead to the creation of giants, and the bodies of these giants are eventually destroyed in the Great Flood. But, and this is the absolute key to the whole thing, their spirits didn't die. They stuck around, just without bodies. So what's the effect of that today? Well, the post claims these disembodied spirits are the unseen enemies in this constant spiritual war. It calls them whispers that are always trying to live vicariously through us by latching onto and amplifying our worst impulses. You know, our rage, our addictions, our darkest thoughts. And this is where that ancient spiritual conflict gets tied directly to our world, right now. The text uses this whole backstory as a lens to critique, well, basically every form of human government. The argument is that they're all fundamentally flawed and wide open to this ancient spiritual corruption. And a source draws a really sharp line in the sand here. It says divine law is like a blueprint for human flourishing. It's as real and fundamental as gravity. But human law? That's seen as something totally different. It's temporary, it's broken, and it's built on the shifting sands of popular opinion. And to back up this critique of rule by the people, the text points to this incredibly powerful example from the Gospels. The point it's making is that when the crowd was given a clear choice between Jesus and the revolutionary Barabbas, they chose Barabbas. This is used as Exhibit A to argue that the majority doesn't automatically choose what's right or what's wise. So here's the bottom line according to this text. Democracy isn't the solution. In fact, it's more like a giant magnifying glass for all our human flaws. The argument is that by giving a collective voice to our fallen nature, democratic systems can actually become super efficient vehicles for that very same corruption that it claims started with those ancient spirits. Okay, so after tearing down the past and the present, the text pivots to the future. It doesn't just point out all the problems, it lays out this detailed prophecy of a fundamental renovation of reality as we know it. And at the absolute center of this transformation is a figure the Post calls the Renovator. It's really specific that this isn't a return as a suffering servant or a rejected prophet. No, this is a return as a rightful king and a judge, someone who gets our current reality but also understands the new one that's on its way. And we're not talking about a subtle arrival. According to the text, it happens at a moment of total crisis, the complete catastrophic collapse of the world's political and social systems. It even says there will be a change in the physical laws that govern our reality, things as basic as gravity. So after everything collapses and the Renovator arrives, what's next? Well, the text describes this new era, often called the millennial reign. But the way this post frames it, it's not the final chapter. It's something very specific, a demonstration. This whole prophesied era really boils down to three key things. First, all human self-government is over, done. Second, those unseen spiritual adversaries, they get bound and basically taken off the playing field. And third, that divine law we talked about earlier is fully restored as the world's one and only operating system. Now, you've probably heard that phrase, ruling with a rod of iron. And it sounds pretty harsh, right? Like tyranny and oppression. But the source offers a totally different spin. It argues this isn't about being cruel. It's about structure. It's an unbending, uncorruptible law that is actually a form of mercy disguised as firmness.
And that, right there, is the whole point of this 1,000-year period, according to the text. It's not the end game, it's a live demonstration. It's the ultimate proof of concept to show everyone what society actually looks like when it's aligned with its creator's original design. No human error, no spiritual corruption. Okay, so with all this prophecy, what are you supposed to do right now? The final part of the text shifts from all this high-level theory and gets super practical, laying out exactly what it says people should be doing in the here and now. Yeah, the post lays out a really clear strategy. It says to build strong families, to, and these are its words, outbreed evil. To share this whole framework so others can make sense of world events. To find allies, even in different traditions, who see the same patterns. It even says to participate in current politics, not because you believe in the system, but as damage control. And finally, to build real resilient communities and start living your own life by those eternal principles right now. And that's where the text leaves us, with a direct challenge. After laying out this massive cosmic vision of the past, the present, and the future, it brings it all right back to you, the individual. It basically says the cosmic preparation is already underway, and then it just leaves this one final question hanging in the air.